Mark, there is only one place to start.
Yeah.
Arsenal's search for a striker. How close are they to getting it over the line?
It feels like, for the first time in a number of windows, Arsenal fans are finally going to get to see the magic number 9 walk through the door at the Emirates. It's been the position that they've been coveting. It's the position they've been desperate for the club to go and action. And it feels like finally we can start to talk about this deal getting closer. Now, how close is the question? We know that Arsenal are pushing hard and they are in advanced talks at the moment. There's been no club-to-club agreement between Sporting and Arsenal, but the conversation continues between the two football clubs. There are some reports out there suggesting that Viktor Gyökeres has told his friends, yeah, I'm only interested in Arsenal. Arsenal's a team for me, Arsenal's the team I want, and that he's also made that quite clear to the hierarchy at Sporting Lisbon. Sporting, as far as they're concerned, I guess, Darmish, they know they've pretty much lost the player. He's played as many games as he's going to play at Lisbon, and what an incredible 2 years it's been. 97 goals in 102 appearances. It is simply phenomenal, hence why now we're talking about this potential move. Maybe that celebration will be seen in the Premier League not too far away.
Yeah, just to add to that, Mark, Arsenal thought to be encouraged by the players' desire to join. Personal terms, not expected to be a problem, and a fresh development. Sporting have given Gyökeres permission to delay his return for pre-season. Now, we know pre-season gets underway for a lot of clubs, not only in the Premier League, but around Europe tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's a week after some of his teammates. That's when he was due back. So some of them have actually gone back a week ago, but he's now been given until Friday as these talks with Arsenal progress. And there is no certainty, given what you've just been saying, that he's going to return at all. Now, you did say, despite these talks being advanced, there's no club-to-club agreement just yet. What is it going to take for there to be this club-to-club agreement?
Well, this feels like a little bit of a grey area. Now, normally when we go into transfer negotiations or we're talking about them, we've got a bit of an idea about what the price is the selling club are looking for. Normally it's the first question you'll ask your contacts. Okay, fine, but how much is it going to cost to get this deal done? Now, this is where it gets a little bit confusing, because there were rumoured reports that when Viktor Gyökeres went to Sporting Lisbon from Championship side Coventry, there was a release clause inserted into that contract that was 100 million euros, which is around 80 million pounds. Now, he's 27 years old, and even the president of Sporting, Federico Varandas, has come out and said, look, we know we're not going to get 80 million pounds for a 27-year-old striker. No one from Portugal is going to leave for that kind of money. So therefore, we have to be sensible, and we have to understand that actually, if we're going to recoup back some of the cash we invested and get this kind of sum into the club, we're going to have to soften our approach on this rumoured release clause. Now, there were suggestions it was around 59 million pounds.
Yeah, because there was that rumour, wasn't there,
Yeah.
that Viktor Gyökeres had some sort of agreement with Sporting that he could leave for that amount of money.
Yeah, but gentlemen's agreements in football, rarely do they ever seem to work out. You hear about these things, and you've probably heard about them a number of times over the years between certain players and certain owners, but very often the agreement is always not quite on the same page. Now, we did say that we understood it to be 59 million. However, Federico Varandas has come out and said there's absolutely no chance that Viktor Gyökeres will be leaving for 59 million pounds in this window. So between 80 million, the release clause, and 59 million, the rumoured release clause, you'd imagine the fee that Arsenal will have to pay will be somewhere in between. You get that feeling that that's where they're going to be. It's going to be probably around 70 million, whether that's inclusive of add-ons or plus some add-ons. It's going to have to be that kind of figure to get Viktor Gyökeres out of Sporting Lisbon and into North London.
Look, we have been speaking about this very topic for so many transfer windows, haven't we? It has been a primary focus for Arsenal to bring in a striker in this transfer window. They have explored the conditions of a deal for a number of players, most notably RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko. But when you look at those two players, they're different profiles and different ages, aren't they? Viktor Gyökeres, you could argue, more of the finished article. Does Benjamin Sesko perhaps have the higher ceiling? But what we're hearing now is that the focus seems to be edging towards Viktor Gyökeres as opposed to Sesko.
It felt like they had two names on their list. Now, there probably would have been 5 or 6. Arsenal do a lot of due diligence, they like to scour the market, and they know that they have to sign top quality. But it always felt like from the start of this window, they had 2 players in mind for that number 9 position. Like you say, Benjamin Sesko, someone that's been in the RB group for a number of seasons and has been watched at times by Real Madrid. You know, he's been on the radar of a number of the big European clubs as they look to strengthen through the middle. It's probably safe to say his development and trajectory hasn't been as progressive as a lot of the clubs expected, but he's still a talented player. But he's 22 years old and probably not quite Premier League ready just yet. But like you rightly say, probably will be in time. Whereas Viktor Gyökeres absolutely is Premier League ready in my mind. He's like an oven-ready product. He's just scored 97 goals in 102 appearances. I think the biggest thing that he'll bring that perhaps other players won't is the physicality. He understands the Premier League. He understands English football. I first came across him when he was a young player at Brighton. Didn't play a great deal of first-team matches. Was given his debut by Chris Hughton, but then went out on loan, and it was where he was on loan at Coventry where he really excelled, and under Mark Robins developed into that ruthless centre-forward, someone that could do everything you'd want from a number 9. And not only score and finish, but he could create his own goals as well. He'd drop into little pockets of space. He'd come into his own half at times, but he'd be prepared to get out wide. He'd be prepared to do the dirty work. And then he had the ability to finish with ease, and not just simple finishes. You know, he'd stick it in the bottom corner, he'd stick it in the top corner. He was good aerially. He had everything. And this is where I think this potential deal certainly feels like it could be the right one, and the one that Arsenal fans are crying out for.
Oven ready, I like that. It looks like Arsenal are cooking.
I sound like Boris Johnson, don't I? I don't know if that's a good thing.
Not quite sure how to follow that one. But listen, we've heard the fans, we've seen social media. Now, how much attention you should pay to social media, I don't know. But it has been the theme. The fans have been baying and asking and demanding that Arsenal sign a striker. The fact that Arsenal have taken their time over the past few windows and done due diligence over a number of transfer windows, including in January when they were looking at both Sesko and Gyökeres, and in this transfer window with both of those players as well. Does that kind of highlight how absolutely vital it is that Arsenal get this right, and the importance of this decision with, in particular, this position?
It's probably the most difficult position to recruit for. And you speak to sporting directors up and down the country, across Europe and in the Premier League, and what's the one thing they say that is the difficult thing to find?
Number 9.
Number 9. And it's also the most expensive as well. So you have to get it right. If you're spending 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 million in Harry Kane's case on that number 9, he has to be able to come into the club and develop almost straight away and have an impact on that first team. This is the most challenging position to recruit for. And for a team like Arsenal, you're not trying to find a striker that will get you 15 goals and get you in the top 4. You're trying to find a striker that will get you 25 plus goals, and someone that will spearhead you to the Premier League title, spearhead you to the Champions League, go and win domestic cups as well. You have got to be the full package, the whole package, and nothing less. It's quite interesting, something you mentioned there. It feels like this is a slight deviation from Arsenal's transfer policy maybe of a few years ago. You go back to the summer of 21-22, where they were signing players like Ben White, like Aaron Ramsdale, Martin Odegaard. The average age of the players they were signing during that particular summer was 22 years old. Suddenly, Andrea Berta comes into the football club with his experience in La Liga, new relationship with Mikel Arteta, and in his final 2 seasons at Atletico, the average age of the players he was signing was 26 and 27. And when you start to look at what Arsenal are doing, Kepa at 30, Zubimendi at 26, Viktor Gyökeres, should they get the deal done, he's 27, Eberici as well, 27. It feels like this is a slight shift. But what you get from these players that are more experienced, a little bit older, are products that are ready to go now. This is not a project where we're building a team for maybe 3 or 4 years' time. This is a project that Mikel Arteta would say, we are ready to hit the ground now and go and win the Premier League.
I guess with every transfer, not just big money ones potentially like Gyökeres would be, comes with it an element of risk. I just want to have a look at this graphic. It is the power rankings of leagues. According to Opta League rankings, it is harder to score goals in the Championship than it is in the Portuguese league. Now, Gyökeres, we do know, has scored plenty of goals in the Championship as well. But more generally, should Arsenal fans have any concerns, given he has been so prolific, but in a league that is widely considered to be outside the top 5 European leagues?
I think Viktor Gyökeres brings something that perhaps a number of other European players don't bring, and that's experience of the English game. Both at Brighton, both at Coventry. He had a loan spell as well that didn't work out particularly well, but he understands the rigours of playing English football. So I think, first of all, you've got someone that understands the country. You speak to so many people, how many times do they say, well, we like a lot of players in Europe, but not all of them have got the ability to adapt to life in England. You've got to move across countries, you've got to learn a new language, you've got to let your family settle, you've got to find a home and a place where you feel comfortable, and then you've got to start playing your best football on the pitch, whereas Arsenal fans won't have that concern. The Arsenal hierarchy won't have that concern. Viktor Gyökeres has lived in England before, so he knows what that's like, so I don't think that will be an issue. The fact that he's a physical striker as well. I don't want to say he's going to do the same sort of things as Erling Haaland, but I feel like some of his characteristics are very similar. I feel like he has that ability to come into the Premier League, come into Arsenal, should the deal get done, and really have a huge impact. And you could almost see within the first 6 or 7 games of Arsenal season, Viktor Gyökeres has got 6 or 7 goals, and people go, Arsenal, why didn't you go and get this player or get this type of player 2 or 3 windows ago, because we might have a few more bits of silverware in the cabinet. But I don't have any question marks about his ability, his goal scoring.